Okay, here is our sample application. In this video, we are going to load three columns from titles table of a pub database into this data grid view. This happens when you click the load data, and when you click on the clear button, the data in this data grid view get cleared. Okay, so first let's go to the clear handler, and if you see, first I'm clearing the data grid control. Then we are clearing the title data set. Then we are making clear on the UI controls. I'm clearing the load button. I'm setting the visible property to true when we click the clear. Similarly, we are enabling all the radio buttons. All these three radio buttons. Then we are clearing the UI fields here, these three UI fields. In this video, I'm not going to show anything that is related to this control. We will see that in the next coming videos. That's all we are doing. So whenever we click load, these three radio buttons get hidden, and when you click clear, then you can set a different constraint and you can start loading the data into this data grid view. So first let's look at the code for this load data. So this is already given in the web page. So here I will explain it quickly. When you click load, what we are doing, we are having a select string. We are selecting data from the titles table of the pubs database. So first we are forming the SQL data adapter by giving this SQL string and then giving the connection string for the pubs database. Here is the connection string. If I go to properties, you can see the pubs connection string here. If you want to form a new one, just give a name here, your connection string, then choose connection string. After that, from the UI, you can start forming the connection string here. So specify the server name, then choose the database and form the connection string. Okay, I'm saving it. So like that, I formed the connection string. Then I'm making call to adapter.fill. If you see here, first I'm passing the data set, title data set, which I created here. Then I'm passing a string. So what happens, the adapter.fill, because the adapter now knows select string and where it should execute this select string, which is specified through this connection string property. So it executes this select query on the pubs database, and pubs database returns you the set of rows and columns, and that rows and columns forms a data table that will be part of this title data set. Since we can hold multiple data table on this data set, we are giving a name for our data table. So once this fill call is completed, then our title data set will have a data table called titles, which is nothing but the row and column collection of the return value of the select string, which got executed in the database specified by this connection string. Next, what we are doing, we are setting the constraints. As I already told, the title data set may have multiple data tables. So what I'm doing, I'm accessing the tables collection from this data set, and I'm giving a name so that we can exactly get the data set. I mean the data table that I am storing it in the reference. Next, I am clearing the constraints. If there is any, that will get cleared. Then based on our radio box selection, either I am creating a unique constraint or primary key constraint. We see here the last column, last parameter specifies whether this is a primary key or not. Since I specify false, this is a unique key. Same mistake here. Here should be a PKEY, primary key, since I am passing true here. So this happens where based on the radio box selection. Now the constraints are applied to the data table. After that, I am setting the data source to the, so this is the data grid view, and this is the one data grid view, and I'm setting data source property, which is nothing but our table. So this data table, this one is data set, and I'm referring the data table which got filled here. After this, I am just setting the column 1's width, and that means the second column. Column 0 refers to title ID, column 1 refers to title, and column 2 refers to type. So there are 3 columns that we are selecting from the titles table. Since this title occupies more character width, I'm setting 350 width for that specific column. After that, I am setting the visibility property to false for the UI controls like load data button, then the 3 radio buttons. Finally, I'm calling dispose on the adapter. That's all here. Excuse me. That's all here. So now how we are going to test, first we will load the data table into the data grid view without any constraint. Then we will select unique constraint and load the data. After that, we will select primary key constraint and load the data. So on each load, we will do some manipulation of data here and see how the application behaves. If you see, I have a try and catch block, and if there is any error, we will end up in this catch block and start displaying the messages. Okay, I will do a build here, then I will start running it. First I am selecting no constraint, then I am choosing load data. Okay, let me change the size of this sample. Right. Now here I am trying to add a new column, let's say TC 100 B over K, book 1, category 1, CAT01. So when I move to next column, it just accepted it. Now let me put here a duplicate TC 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. See here it is a duplicate of this one. I'm choosing this as book 2. Then here I'm choosing CAT02, category 02. That's all. Now, since there is no constraints, the front end ADO.NET allows entering this data. Also, you have to note that till here we loaded the data from the data adapter, and these 2 data we are just entering it manually. And it's at present it is read only. We are not committing this data to the database. So we are not worrying about the constraints that's in the database, I mean in the SQL server. All we are worrying about the constraint applied to the data table and how these constraints going to behave in the front end. So at present I loaded the data without any constraint. Now let's clear this. So when I click clear, the data table and the data set all get reset. Now I'm going to load the data with a constraint. See here, the data adapter fills the data in the data set, and then we are taking the data table from the data set. Then we are applying the constraint. Since I clicked unique, now we are applying the unique constraint. Here I'm doing constraints.add. This is data table. Data table is part of data set. Data set is filled by the adapter.fill method, and adapter.fill takes the select query as well as from where we have to execute that select query. So what's the difference between the load which I did previously and now? So the previously all the constraints are cleared and there is no constraint in the data table. Now I have I'm going to choose unique constraint and I'm going to click load data. So now we are adding a constraint to the data table. Then the data table is set to the data grid view. So now data grid view get loaded with a data table which has a constraint applied to it, and the constraint is unique constraint. All right, let's go ahead and check this behavior now. So I'm clicking load data. As usual, data get added, and I am adding TC 100. The same stuff I'm doing again, so it'll do fast this time. All right, now we will go and add a duplicate. So this unique constraint applied. So whatever I am adding is unique. That means title ID, it doesn't exist here. So it just added. Now I'm going to pick something. The same thing I will pick, TC 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. I'll put book 1, category 02. So when I click row next to it, we may get an error because there is a constraint violation on this data grid. So we're seeing the error, and the error message clearly says that column title ID is constrained to be unique. It also says which value is conflicting. So it says value TC77 is already present, and if I click OK, it just removes that row. Right, now I'll go ahead and clear this and let me load the data with primary key. So here we will say a similar behavior. TC 200, book 1, category 1, TC 777, book 2, C2. So now also we are saying the same error. So at present you may wonder what's the difference between a primary key and unique key. Both behaves the same way. So you will see the difference when we go with the merge operation. So at present we just tested the code that we have written so far. That's all on this video. Next we will see how the add row functionality work. We will type something here, then we will add row, and we will check the constraints behavior.